Today I'm going to talk about why Gen Z are idiots. And I'm a very blunt, tough love, honest person. I don't think sugarcoating solves anything. But there is a sinister plan here, a sinister plan that went into effect years ago and is literally the cause of what we are seeing right now in our society. So let's get started here. And not all Gen Z kids or adults, whatever you want to call them, not all of them are idiots, clearly. So don't get me wrong. But there is a much larger, more sinister issue here that has truly been the root cause of the decline of American society. And I think a lot of you will agree, this assassination culture that believes if you don't agree, like what happened to Charlie Kirk, we will just shut you up by any means necessary. And clearly that's not healthy, and it's not productive, and it is moving in the opposite direction of which way we should be going, which is forward with progress. There are countless ingredients in this mess that we call the extreme left, the liberals, and the modern day Democrats. There are three central elements at play here. And I'm going to break each one of them down as simplistically as I can. But there are three elements in play that have created the society that we're seeing. Make them unaccountable, make them ignorant, and make them dependent. Those are the three most important factions in this. Unaccountable, ignorant, and dependent. And I don't think any sane mind could disagree that that is exactly the combination of what we are seeing out there, not only in today's political climate, but just in society in general. Now, first and foremost, who orchestrated this and why? The Democratic Party orchestrated this, period. You cannot convince me otherwise, and I challenge you to convince me otherwise. They did it to gain control, riches, and power, and they've achieved all that. The very party that liberals believe empowers them is the same party that used them to achieve where they are today. Corrupt, nearly untouchable, and highly influential. But how do you achieve those three things? How do you get to be corrupt without repercussions? How can you be nearly untouchable? And how can you be highly influential? We're going to talk about that. If you look back at every major change in American society that has affected education, financial growth, and morality, you will find that a Democratic politician initiated it every single time. But in order to change a large portion of society, you must start where it's the easiest. This is why there's school shootings. Schools are completely vulnerable, completely helpless. So for the Democratic Party, where do you go to brainwash? You start with our children because that's the easiest. In our schools. That ensures that they grow up believing whatever you are selling them. But how did they do it? Because they've done it. We are seeing the fruits of their labor. All right? It began with reducing educational opportunities and lowering the requirements to pass. That's how it started. That was followed by false praise, constant affirmation, and an endless supply of dopamine triggers. And I think most of you out there are aware of what dopamine is. I'm not going to get into the science behind it, but it is a chemical in our brain that affects whether we feel good or not. Okay? So focusing on dopamine triggers is very important to brainwashing somebody. It's a very effective way to brainwash because let's face it, that's exactly what has happened here. Brainwashing. So let me break this down. I'm going to break this down into pieces. I'm going to try to keep each part fairly short just to get the point across and hope that the discussion can go further down in the comments. And try to keep it civil, guys. That's what I'm trying to do here. You can bully, you can troll, you can do whatever you want. I just don't care. Your voices are becoming unheard, and it's because of behavior like that. You're never going to see progress like that. So anyways, let me break down how they started this in our schools. They removed typing class, better known as keyboarding. They did this so students wouldn't type efficiently or excel at computer-based jobs, office work, and writing, knowing that computers have completely replaced pen and paper. Computers are involved at just about every job now. Everything is digital now. And instead of typing, the skill was replaced with swiping. Nobody can deny that. And swiping is not a skill, kids. It's an act, a very simple act. They stopped sentence diagramming. And a lot of you, probably the younger crowd, don't even know what that means. And they placed less focus on grammar, which we hear every day, two things that are vital to language and communication. Instead, the focus shifted to comprehension, to understanding. In other words, listen better. They don't want scholars from you. They want followers. And in order to obtain that, they have to dumb you down, which they have. They removed courses where students learned practical skills. Woodworking, automotive repair, sewing, cooking, and even more. But why? This was to ensure dependence on others, them. To make students less self-reliant, to force them to depend on government systems because they want full control. And right now, to some of you, they have it. They're using you as a puppet. Schools are no longer required to teach cursive. Over half of the schools no longer even offer it. And those that do only provide it on a very basic level. This prevents students from reading anything written in cursive. To them, it's another language. How sad is that? Coincidentally, our Constitution and our Bill of Rights are written in cursive. Yeah, sure, you can argue digital copies exist, but is anybody honestly going to sit there and say they've went and read it? But the fact that something so foundational cannot be read by the people it governs is frightening. It makes manipulation easier. Physical education has been stripped of standards for excellence. In other words, obesity and unhealthy lifestyles are now celebrated instead of corrected. Instead of promoting health and mobility, we promote weakness and dependence. Again, there's that word, dependence. Who are you depending on? Really think about that. God in prayer, removed from schools. Spanking and firm verbal correction were removed as well. This has created a student body with nothing to fear. No real lessons learned, and more importantly, no respect for authority. How can anyone respect authority when there are no consequences for actions? Really think about that. That's what we're seeing today. So now, they are both ignorant and unaccountable. The lack of accountability makes them insensitive, and in some cases, very dangerous. Very dangerous, like the things we have seen recently with the Ukrainian lady on the shuttle with Charlie Kirk. This is what the Democrats have created. They continue to incite violence and have you programmed to act on it on their behalf. But you're the one dealing with the consequences, not them. We removed awards for winners and replaced them with participation trophies and the everybody is a winner philosophy. This created a generation that believes they can never lose and that everything they say or do is correct. We can no longer tell a child that they are wrong. This directly fosters extreme narcissism. And if you do your research, you will find that the largest portion of school shooters After a psychological evaluation, it was discovered that they suffer from extreme narcissism. Think about that. We started awarding mediocrity. People rarely stop to consider the physical and mental dangers of constantly being told that you are right, a winner, or a success, when in reality you're not. We have embraced lying as a tool of compliment and false hope. So what happens to the body when something good happens to you? What happens when you win or you are told that you won? What happens when you feel accomplished? A chemical called dopamine is released into your body. It's like a drug. It makes you feel good. It's a feel-good drug that is naturally produced in the body. So to put it simply, dopamine makes you feel good. This reinforces behavior and encourages repetition because you naturally want to feel good more. You want to feel good all the time. It's no different than being an alcoholic or a drug addict. You've got to keep doing more and more and more because it makes you feel good. Now, when you are led to believe you are never wrong and can do or be anything you want, your body literally becomes a dopamine factory. Believe it or not, even being excited about receiving 100 likes on social media, like on your post, that releases dopamine. That's why this generation is locked in to social media, that narcissism and that need for attention and constant reward. You have fooled yourselves into thinking that even the most trivial, irrelevant actions are important and essential to your being. That's who you are. But sadly, chronic dopamine need and release is extremely dangerous. Too much can and will desensitize the brain. And as we're seeing out there, it has happened. This means you have to seek out further validation, further affirmation, further attention, and even greater ways to amplify your dopamine intake, whatever you want to call it, to reach the levels you are used to. It's no different than being an alcoholic. What one day 6 beers did, now it takes 12, and then 18, and then 30. You just keep getting worse and worse. This can lead to severe mental disorders, which is what we're seeing, such as anxiety, delusions, and psychosis, which is what we are seeing. And all of this is happening right now in our society. We are witnessing the effects of this phenomena every day. Every day. At work, at school, on social media, within our government. It's happening all the time. So what do we do now? What do we have now? Now that we've discussed those things, what do we have now? We have ignorance, the inability to accept accountability, and the belief that opinions are absolute fact within an unhinged society that's without conscience. That's what we have. I'm going to say it again. Ignorance, the inability to accept accountability, and the belief that opinions are absolute fact within an unhinged society without conscience. Opinions have replaced truth. Lies have become reality. Science has become a myth. History has been rewritten to serve narratives. Everything Gen Z has become was built on a lie. A lie crafted to serve the very people who fooled them into thinking their best interests were being considered. They weren't. The people that fooled you, they're only looking out for themselves, and you continue to support them. Gen Z and Gen Alpha grew up in a digital, convenience-driven world. So many skills, knowledge sets, and common sense, practices that were normal for older generations like mine, Gen X, have either faded or completely disappeared with the younger generation. Academically and practically, the losses are immense. We have a dumb society walking around out there trying to function. Academically, cursive handwriting, mental math, manual calculations, analog research, geography knowledge, sentence structure, grammar, historical literacy, and more. All gone. It's all gone. You've been dumbed down. What else has been lost? Practically. Navigation, things that should be practical to everybody. Navigating without a GPS. Basic car repair. Manual household repairs. Cooking from scratch. Food preservation. Outdoor survival. Sewing. Emergency preparedness. Analog communication. And directional memory. I probably just said a whole bunch of words that you don't even know what they mean. And that saddens me. It really does. I'm not saying this to mock you. I'm saying this so you'll wake up and realize that you have been convinced otherwise. The Democratic Party has bred a generation of individuals who can't outclass us, outsmart us, outsurvive us, or even defend themselves. The scariest part, the ignorance is paired with arrogance and entitlement and narcissism. And that is a deadly combination, proven every day. Sadly, every day. They say communication is the best weapon for resolving differences. But this generation has been conditioned to act, not listen. You cannot reason with a generation that refuses to hear, comprehend, or embrace humility. They've been trained to stare at screens rather than look around them. Trained to be defiant while believing themselves righteous. I could easily expand on each of these talking points. Each one certainly does deserve a discussion of its own. But the idea is clear. So let me close with this. First and foremost, please comment. Let me hear your point of view on all of this. Subscribe if you like this kind of comment. Ring that bell because I'm really gonna try to be proactive on here with human discussion that we should be having every day. If we want a society to work, we have to talk. But older generations, like the one I come from, like Gen X, we consistently pay closer attention to politics and policies and real issues than younger ones like Gen Z or Gen Alpha. Younger adults are disengaged, uninterested, or simply overwhelmed. I had an argument the other day with a liberal who said she doesn't follow politics at all. Yet she has all of these political views she is so passionate about. Doesn't make any sense to me. This is the same generation that believes they are always right. The same generation that claims their opinions and rights are the only one that matters. The same generation that jumps on political bandwagons while preaching authority, yet they don't even pay attention to the very mechanisms that keep this country running. I am certainly not going to listen to Bill the Carpenter about a problem with my vehicle. The irony is that the very people who are going to argue with everything I just said are the same people I am talking about. I don't expect them to show humility or have an epiphany and say, hey, I was lied to. I was taken advantage of. I was used by the very people I endorsed. It just won't happen because they are incapable of the critical thinking and emotional awareness required to reach that realization. And that's exactly what the Democratic Party wanted and succeeded at. And as I said at the beginning of this video, it isn't everybody, but sadly, it is a very large percentage of that younger generation. It's so large that it needs attention. Leave your thoughts in the comments, guys. If you have a question, feel free to ask. My name is Steven. I'm up for discussion, man. Let's do it.